The animation industry is in a rough spot right now. Studios are laying off artists left and right, projects are getting scrapped, and the future feels really uncertain. But how did we even get here? 3 of the 5 highest grossing films of 2024 were animated films. It seems like the bar for animation keeps rising. They're making cooler stories and cooler visuals than ever. And Flow, an independent film made in Blender, just won Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards. This is a game changer for independent animators everywhere. It seems like we're in a golden age of animation. So why am I seeing so many looking for work posts on my Instagram? To understand how we got here, let's take a look at 2020, the pandemic. Streaming platforms were booming. Everyone was stuck at home and binging shows, and animation became huge. And animation thrived because it could be made remotely. Studios hired a ton of artists to keep up with demand, but as the market stabilized and things went back to normal, studios scaled back, leading to project cancellations and layoffs. US productions fell by 40% in the second quarter of 2024 compared to 2022. I was laid off from Netflix along with dozens of others when our film got cut or restructured. Turns out streaming doesn't bring in as much money as the theaters. How does a subscription translate to revenue per movie versus like a $15 movie ticket? Make it make sense. So as budgets got tighter, the first thing studios did was cut costs, starting with the animation teams. And that led to massive layoffs. Netflix cut a third of its animation division, Disney laid off 20% of Pixar staff, and other big names like Warner Brothers and DreamWorks followed. The Animation Guild reported that about 1/3 of its animation workforce experienced layoffs over the past year. And by 2023, both writers and actors went on strike, and Hollywood's production stopped, leading to another decline of employment opportunities and even more project cancellations. So that's what happened. Studios ramped up hiring during the pandemic, and then realized it's not sustainable. So to cut costs, a lot of studios have been outsourcing animation. They send work to countries where labor is cheaper. Disney opened up a studio in Vancouver to take advantage of the tax breaks, and DreamWorks shifted a lot of its work overseas. These places often have weaker labor production, like during Spider-Verse, famously, over 100 animators quit over brutal working conditions. And that's because Canada doesn't really have animation unions like in the US, so artists here have fewer protections. And then there's mergers. Big companies keep buying each other out, and every time that happens, studios get shut down. Like when Disney bought 20th Century Fox and shut down Blue Sky Studios, laying off over 450 employees. Take a look at the indie model of Flow. So Flow won Best Picture this year at the Oscars, and this beautiful film was made using Blender, an open source animation program. And get this, it had a budget of just $3.8 million. Compare that to Moana 2, which costed around $150 million. But how do they make this movie so cheap? Well, the software's free, there's no dialogue in the film, and there's no traditional storyboards. They just placed the characters in the scene and explored it with the camera, which means no deleted scenes, no expensive revisions, and on top of that, it was a passion project with a small team. And, European wages are significantly lower than in the US. So yes, it's proof that animation isn't just for massive studios. Anyone can make beautiful animated stories. But what do I see? I see that studios will see that it's possible to make an amazing film at the fraction of the cost. And now let's talk about the dreaded elephant in the room, AI. Animation studios are already experimenting with AI tools that generate animation faster and cheaper than humans. Some industry leaders are even saying that AI could replace up to 90% of animation jobs. Generative AI is projected to significantly disrupt approximately 200,000 entertainment jobs over the next 3 years. AI may be efficient, but at what cost? Animation is about human expression. It's real stories and real emotions. And if studios start treating filmmaking like just another product, something to mass produce, then is it still art? And right now we're seeing decisions driven more by efficiency than creativity. And we're already seeing studios cancel projects based on algorithms, AI-generated music pushed over real artists, and writers fighting to keep their jobs. And don't even get me started on the AI Ghibli trend. I don't want to live in a world where art is automated. I want the imperfections and the risks and the personal connections that make art meaningful. But I'm not gonna get too much into this or I will explode. A survey by the Animation Guild found that 61% of its members are extremely concerned about AI negatively impacting their jobs. So now we know that the animation industry is on fire. We know why it's happening. And if you want a deeper dive, then I really suggest watching The Animation Industry is Collapsing by Know the Robot. He explains it more in depth and better than I am. So what now? Well, I wanted to talk about a more optimistic view on all of this, how artists are surviving. We're a community, and it's easy to be in this industry and feel alone. You see people occasionally post that they got a new job, and it feels like everyone's doing so much better than you. Well, I feel that sometimes. And it's also scary for young artists who are just trying to get into the industry. Students still in school, recent graduates who think, like, is this all it is? Did I come at a bad time? So I reached out to a lot of artists and listened to a lot of people's stories. Because if there's one thing for certain, it's that we're all in this together. Many artists are surviving by being more self-sustainable, like releasing their own books, trying to get their own miniseries funded, releasing courses, starting sticker clubs. How am I staying afloat without a full-time job? Well, a big part of it is YouTube right now, and sponsors whose products I believe in. Like today's sponsor. Right now, a lot of artists are turning to conventions and merch to make money, and having high quality products can make all the difference. I've been selling my art for years online and at conventions, and honestly, finding the right balance between cost and quality is a struggle. You don't want to spend a fortune up front, but you also don't want your merch to look cheap. That's why I think Vograce is a great option. They make acrylic keychains, vinyl stickers, tote bags, enamel pins, pretty much anything you'd like to sell. The colors are vibrant, the printing is super crisp, and they have a ton of customization options. Plus, I love a company where a real person double checks with me before confirming my order. It really feels like they care about the artist and the product that they make. So if you're thinking about making your own merch, this is a great place to start. Whether you're just testing things out or going all in, they have bulk discounts and smaller order options, so you don't have to drop a ton of money up front. So if you're putting off making merch, take this as your sign to go for it and use my code for $5 off your order at Vograce. Some artists don't have the ability to wait until they find work related to art. I spoke to a lot of artists that have to work in retail for the time being. Yeah, it's not as fun as drawing, but it's work that pays you for the time being. Some artists might have to pivot to a completely different profession. Like Anna Sumina, an incredible visual development artist, might have to start looking for another profession. Maybe she'll start dog grooming now, which honestly doesn't sound so bad. But you know, more artists are turning to teaching, like I am. And I've questioned if it's right to teach character design when the industry feels so unstable, but then I realized art isn't just about jobs. It's about craft and passion and self-expression. And no matter how technology changes, people will always be creating. And teaching art isn't just about career prep, it's about training your eye and finding your voice and thinking visually. Because the industry may shift, but creativity isn't going anywhere. And at the same time, so many artists are diversifying, learning new skills to be more hireable. I learned 3D, and now instead of hiring me as a character designer, and then you hire another artist to make it in 3D, I can do both. Theoretically, well, you know, I'm still learning, but I'm diversifying my skills and wearing more hats to be more of an asset towards studios. The stereotype of the struggling artist, it's really about the hustling artist, you know? Artists are pivoting and adapting and proving that their skills are transferable. Like Derek Ortega is taking on toy and set design, and Austin Marr is even considering tattooing. So many artists are using this time to grow. Some are brushing up on their fundamentals, like Scott Epstein is refining his figure drawing and building up his portfolio, while Ham Firazan is planning to make a game. Brendan Marion is spending time to try doing stuff artistically that I keep wanting to make for years, but it's never the right time. I, for one, have been making a short film for the past few months, same with Toniko Pentoa, as he's told me. And then there's artists like Michelle Lamb, who found success by pivoting entirely. She's moved into social media, book deals, and hosting art retreat trips instead of doing storyboarding. And this gives her more financial stability and flexibility. She told me, the only thing I had to let go of was bragging rights about working at X studio and doing X thing. That is so real. So many of us tie our identity to where we work instead of what we create. But there's so many ways to make a living as an artist, even outside the traditional animation industry path. Another way artists are staying afloat is through indie animation and crowdfunded animation. There's never been a better time to be an indie studio making niche projects. Monetization is more accessible than ever. Critical Role started off as a Dungeons & Dragons web series, and their Kickstarter campaign to create an animated special raised more than $1 million in funding. That's the most successful film or television project in Kickstarter history, and they've since created 3 seasons of Vox Machina. Or Has Been Hotel started off as a YouTube series by VizzyPop, financed solely by Patreon followers. Then Amazon picked it up, and 3 more seasons are already confirmed. There's even a spin-off series. We're all chronically online, and it's easier than ever to get people to see your work. So post your art, make that short film, be active on social media. You know how much I've been posting on social media? You think it's for fun? You know, it's to get eyes on my work, eyes on my ideas. And who knows, maybe I'll crowdfund a pilot for my Bang Bang story. I don't know, maybe. So comment below what indie animated project excites you the most. Let's share our favorite content and support independent artists and studios. Okay, what does this mean for the future of this industry? Like many, Bill Robinson, our director at Little Umbrella, thinks lots of viz dev and concept art positions will be replaced by AI. And it's probably true. It's a realist point of view. The industry's changing, and that's probably the direction we're headed in, honestly. But we're not going down without a fight. People are fighting to keep artists' work from being eaten by AI, and we're sometimes winning, sometimes. Like by US law, AI art can't be copyrighted. Writers are working on protections against AI so they don't get replaced, and the Animation Guild is always working to protect artists. Everything is in the process, nothing is certain, but people are being loud. And I like to live in optimism. Kasem, another fellow art YouTuber and educator, suggests that as things start to shift more indie, or with smaller teams, you'll have to start doing a broader set of things. You'll need more skills and need to be more of a generalist with larger knowledge of everything. And I got so many messages of people looking forward to the shift in indie animation or crowdfunded projects. With more and more IPs and sequels than ever, corporations are taking the safest routes, and now potentially AI will help create that. People crave stories that they can connect to, like a breath of fresh air, something from someone's soul. Like I connected so deeply to Damishi's Turning Red. Not only is it about a little girl growing up in Toronto, Damishi also went to Sheridan where I went to. There's so many joint experiences of being like a 12-year-old in Canada. A robot could simply not make me cry the amount of times that I've cried during Turning Red. Adam Dix, a character designer currently teaching art, sums it up perfectly. I think the AI interest will fade to some degree. Once studios realize that new voices win out over the derivative, I think that there will be new small studios sprouting up and a lot more indie animation projects. Fresh voices, new styles, new studios, etc. And that's what keeps me optimistic. And that's the heart of it. Art survives because we do. No matter how the industry shifts and no matter what technology throws at us, artists keep pushing forward. We adapt, innovate, and we carve out new spaces for our creativity. So maybe the future of animation won't look exactly like it was in the past, but that doesn't mean it's the end. It just means that we're entering a new chapter, one where independent voices, small studios, and individual artists will shape what comes next. So I hope this gave you some new perspective, not just on the chaos of the industry, but on like the resilience of the people in it, because we're all in this together. Thank you for watching this kind of different video from me, and don't forget to support the artists I share today by giving them a follow. All right, and I'll see you next time.